In today's world where everyone shares everything, why do most people still feel unseen? We chase likes yet feel empty. Could it be that external validation has become society's new form of slavery? You've been told vulnerability is weakness. But in a world where everyone wears masks, maybe the real weakness is hiding. What if owning your struggle is actually the start of your power? You work hard, sacrifice, yet success feels hollow. Why? Because modern life rewards noise, not depth. True worth isn't found in applause, it's built in silence. But are you ready for that kind of freedom? Welcome to StoicCraft, the channel where we decode timeless Stoic wisdom to help modern professionals, leaders, and thinkers build unshakable inner strength in a chaotic world. Here, we don't chase motivation or trends. We craft discipline. We don't just seek success. We build character. If you're tired of surface-level advice and ready for real inner work, you're in the right place. If you're ready to stop performing for the world and start building the person you're meant to be, subscribe to StoicCraft now. New videos every day to help you develop quiet strength, clear direction, and a mindset that doesn't break under pressure. Hit the subscribe button and let's build your inner citadel together. There's a harsh truth that eventually confronts every one of us. Sometimes it arrives gradually, creeping into our awareness over the years, and other times it hits us suddenly with brutal clarity. The truth is simple, yet uncomfortable. Nobody really cares, not about your excuses, not about your frustrations, not even about your hidden potential. At first, acknowledging this feels cruel. It feels cold. But if you can sit with that reality, if you can truly digest it instead of rejecting it, something liberating begins to happen inside you. Because when you finally stop expecting the world to care, when you stop assuming that someone out there is invested in your success or waiting for you to win, you begin to take real ownership of your life. You stop living in hopes of being understood, and instead, you focus on understanding yourself. You stop explaining your dreams, trying to convince others that your vision matters, and instead, you quietly start building that vision. Without fanfare, without applause. You stop waiting for recognition, for praise, for permission. You simply show up for yourself every day, every morning, with or without acknowledgement from anyone. Because the truth is, you're not here to be liked. You're not here to be seen. You're here for something deeper, to build strength from within. And that strength, it's not loud. It doesn't draw attention. It's not about public declarations or motivational speeches. It's forged in silence. It's built in solitude. It's shaped by thousands of small, unseen, uncelebrated decisions. That's the path of the Stoic, the path of those who cultivate inner power. They don't chase validation. They don't perform for approval. They live in quiet alignment with principles far stronger than public opinion. So if you've ever felt invisible, if you've felt like no one sees your hard work, hears your inner struggles or recognizes what you're silently carrying, good. That means you're at the beginning of something important. It means it's time to stop outsourcing your worth to others. It's time to reclaim your energy, to protect your peace, to build a life that stands firm whether anyone's watching or not. This isn't about turning cold or emotionless. It's about freedom, because the moment you stop needing the world to care about your journey, is the moment you finally start focusing on what truly matters: your character, your direction, your discipline. Real peace isn't found in applause. It's found in becoming. Quietly, steadily, patiently. So let's begin with the first principle. Your worth doesn't depend on applause. Have you ever dared to ask yourself, would I still do this if no one ever noticed? If no one clapped? It's an uncomfortable question. It strips away the illusion of motivation and forces you to confront your real motives. Because whether we admit it or not, much of what we do, from our smallest decisions to our biggest life choices, is often a performance. A performance designed to win approval, to gain attention, to secure recognition. But applause is a fragile foundation. It's unpredictable. It's tied to other people's moods, their biases, their distractions. And if your sense of worth depends on something so unstable, you'll forever be emotionally fragile, tied to every like, every compliment, every word of praise. That's why Stoicism teaches something liberating. Your worth doesn't reside in other people's eyes. It lives within your alignment, between your values and your actions. Are you being honest even when it's uncomfortable? Are you showing up with discipline even when no one's there to applaud you? Are you choosing integrity over convenience? That's where your real worth begins, not in how loudly others cheer, but in how quietly and confidently you respect yourself. Think about the sun. It doesn't ask to be seen. It doesn't seek attention. It simply rises every morning, silently, powerfully. And still, it lights the entire world. That's the kind of energy you must embody. Quiet power, steady direction. Not chasing admiration, but radiating truth. When you build your life based on who you really are, not who others want you to be, something shifts. You stop needing applause. You stop waiting for approval. You start building a life that belongs to you. And that life, crafted in integrity, will always be worth living. So the next time you feel unseen, the next time you feel unappreciated, ask yourself a simple question. Am I proud of the way I showed up today? If the answer is yes, that's your applause. That's your validation. Because no one can take away the dignity that comes from living a life of alignment. That's the kind of worth that doesn't need to be validated. It only needs to be honored. Now we move to the second truth. External validation is a trap. Why do we care so deeply about what others think? It starts early, long before we're aware of it. A smile from a parent, a gold star from a teacher, a like on a social post. Each one is a small hit of approval that conditions us, shaping our behavior without us realizing it. And before we know it, our internal compass shifts. We stop looking inward. We stop asking ourselves, is this right for me? Instead, we start wondering, will they approve? But here's the danger. The more you chase validation, the more you lose yourself. You stop being the author of your life. You become a performer in a play you never auditioned for, acting out roles written by other people's expectations, while forgetting who you were before the applause began. Stoicism cuts through this illusion. It reminds us that external validation is not just a distraction, it's a form of slavery. And the worst kind of slavery? The one you willingly choose. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because growth often looks messy. It's unpopular. It's awkward. But if you're addicted to approval, you'll avoid anything uncomfortable. You'll avoid taking risks. You'll avoid evolving. You'll trade authenticity for applause, and you'll stay small. That's the tragedy of external validation. It convinces you to seek permission to be yourself. It convinces you to delay your choices, to pause your progress until others approve. But here's the reality. People are fickle. Their opinions are shaped by their own insecurities, not your worth. One day you're praised. The next day you're criticized, often for the exact same thing. If your sense of self rises and falls with those waves, you'll drown. The solution? Detach. When you reclaim your inner anchor, when you stop outsourcing your worth, you become steady. Not because the world agrees with you, but because you agree with yourself. Look around. How many people are living lives that aren't their own? Choosing careers to impress their parents. Posting for validation instead of expression. Staying silent in rooms where their voice matters, simply to avoid judgment. That's the hidden cost of chasing validation. You erode your authenticity, one compromise at a time. And worst of all, you teach yourself to hide. You dim your light to make others comfortable. But real freedom begins the moment you stop needing to be seen. The moment you realize that true peace isn't found in the applause of others, it's found in your ability to stand alone and still say, "This is my path." Whether you clap or not, that's not arrogance. That's strength. That's stoicism in action. Think about this. If tomorrow everyone stopped noticing your effort, would you still show up? Would you still create? Would you still speak your truth? Would you still pursue your goals with discipline? If your answer is no, then your motivation isn't truly yours. It's rented from the crowd. But if your answer is yes, then you've found something rare, something powerful. You've found a source of action that no one can touch. That's what you build a real life on. So let go. Not of connection, but of dependency. Give yourself permission to be misunderstood, to walk alone when needed, to be fully yourself, without explanation, because the day you stop needing others to validate your life is the day you finally begin to live it. That's strength. That's maturity. That's stoicism in action. But pause and really ask yourself, if tomorrow everyone stopped noticing your work, if not a single person acknowledged your effort again, would you still show up? Would you still create? Would you still speak your truth? Would you still live with discipline even when no one's watching? Because if the honest answer is no, then your motivation isn't really yours. It's rented, leased from the approval of others. But if your answer is yes, if you know you would continue without the need for applause, then you've found something rare, something powerful. You've found a source of inner energy no one can take from you. And that's where a real life begins. So let go. Let go not of human connection, not of community, but of dependency. Give yourself permission to be misunderstood. Give yourself permission to walk alone sometimes. Give yourself permission to be entirely yourself, without apology, without justification, without explanation. Because the moment you no longer need others to validate your life is the moment you begin to actually live it. Now, understand this. One of the most life-changing Stoic lessons is simple. Focus only on what you can control. Have you ever paused long enough to consider just how much of your daily stress, your frustration, your mental exhaustion comes from trying to control things that are beyond your reach? Be honest, the traffic, jam you're stuck in, the opinions people have about you, the opportunities that didn't come when you hoped, the way someone you care about behaves. We pour so much mental and emotional energy into wrestling with things that are simply not within our power to change, as if worrying harder could somehow bend reality. But it doesn't. It never does. And Stoicism calls this out with brutal clarity. Epictetus said it plainly. Some things are up to us. Some things are not. Wisdom, real wisdom, begins when we finally learn the difference. So what's within your control? Your thoughts, your choices, your perspective, the way you choose to respond, not react to what life throws at you. That's your domain. That's your power. Everything else? That's noise, distraction, wasted energy. Now, this doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It doesn't mean you give up on planning or preparing for the future. It means you stop suffering over what isn't yours to carry. You stop demanding that the world behave the way you want it to, and instead you start focusing on how you behave, regardless of the world's chaos. Imagine two people facing the same storm. One spirals into panic, blame, and helplessness. They resist. They fight reality. The other pauses, breathes, and calmly asks, "What can I do right now within my control?" That shift, that simple change in focus is where power lives. Not power over the world, but power over yourself. Because life isn't about controlling the storm. It's about becoming the calm within it. Consider your relationships. You can't control whether someone stays. You can't control whether they love you the way you wish. You can't control whether they see your worth. But you can control how you treat yourself in their absence. You can choose dignity instead of desperation. You can choose stillness instead of chasing. You can choose clarity over confusion. And when you do that, you reclaim your strength, not by changing them, but by changing how much power you give them over your mind. Even in small things, this principle matters. You can't control whether your boss wakes up in a bad mood, but you can choose how you respond to their tone. You can't control the economy, but you can control how you budget, how you adapt, how you prepare. That's not weakness. That's precision. That's focus. That's what a life of mastery looks like, one that doesn't scatter energy chasing ghosts, but stays rooted in what can actually be shaped. And the beauty? The more you focus on what you can control, the more influence you gain, not over others, but over your own experience. You become less reactive, less anxious, less bitter. Why? Because you're no longer fighting reality. You're working with it. That's what the Stoics meant by living according to nature, aligning yourself with the flow of life rather than resisting it. So pause and ask yourself honestly, what am I holding on to that isn't mine to fix? What energy am I wasting trying to force things outside my control? And more importantly, what is in my control right now? What's one thing I can do today with clarity, with integrity, with presence? That's where peace begins. Not in controlling the world, but in mastering yourself within it. Now comes another essential truth. Live for your inner standards, not for the approval of the crowd. What do you do when the world celebrates something you don't believe in? What happens when the crowd moves in one direction, and your inner voice, that quiet, stubborn voice, tells you to walk the other way? These aren't theoretical questions. They're real. They're the daily dilemmas of anyone trying to live a life of integrity. Because here's the harsh truth about society. As loud and persuasive as it is, the crowd changes its mind constantly. What's popular today is ridiculed tomorrow. What wins applause today might bring shame a year from now. And if your sense of right and wrong is built on what society approves of, you'll be chasing moving targets forever. The Stoics understood this clearly. They taught that real peace comes not from obeying public opinion, but from living in harmony with your own inner standards, your personal code. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote, "The approval of the crowd is a weak and unstable foundation." Why? Because the crowd doesn't know you. It doesn't care about your values. It doesn't care about your truth. It rewards what's loud, not what's right. And if you live for its approval, you'll lose yourself slowly, silently in the noise. Instead, think of a compass. A compass always points north. It doesn't matter how fierce the storm gets. It doesn't matter if no one else is following. That's how your values should function, as your anchor, your unshakable guide. Not because they make you look good to others, but because they make you whole. And when you act in alignment with those values, even if no one notices, you begin to experience a strength that's hard to explain. It's not arrogance. It's not ego. It's peace. The quiet peace of knowing, I chose what was right, not what was easy. Let's make this real. Suppose you're at work and cutting corners is rewarded. Everyone's doing it. You're told, just follow the system. Don't overthink it. Do you go along? Or do you hold the line, knowing it might cost you? Or imagine you're with friends who casually mock others to bond. Do you stay silent to keep the peace? Or do you speak up, even if it makes the air in the room colder, the dynamic more awkward? These moments seem small, but they shape your character. They carve your identity. They don't just tell the world who you are, they tell you who you are. And here's the paradox. The more you practice this, the stronger you get. Not louder, stronger, because living by your inner standards isn't about making a scene. It's about becoming unshakable. You walk into a room and you no longer need to perform. You don't need to impress. You don't need to shrink. You simply are clear, grounded, true. And yes, sometimes that will feel lonely. Sometimes people won't understand. They'll question your choices. They'll question your silence. They'll question your boundaries. But that's the price of authenticity. And it's worth it. Because what's the alternative? Living a life that pleases others but betrays yourself? That's not peace. That's quiet torment. So ask yourself, this, if no one ever approved of your life, would you still be proud of it? If your actions were judged only by your own conscience, would you feel aligned? These questions matter more than applause ever could. Because at the end of the day, when your head hits the pillow, it's not the crowd's voice echoing in your mind. It's yours. You walk into a room, and they don't need to announce anything. Their presence speaks louder than words. Why? Because they've earned something no external label can give them. Self-respect. That's real value. a value no one can grant and no one can take away. Now, look at the opposite. Someone who constantly seeks validation from others. A person whose worth depends on compliments, promotions, or social media likes. Watch what happens when they face rejection. One harsh comment, one failure, and their entire self-image collapses. Why? Because their worth was never built from within. It was borrowed. And when the lender takes it back, they're left empty. This is where Stoicism becomes not just philosophy, but survival. When you stop outsourcing your value, when you stop handing out the keys to your self-worth, your life shifts. You stop chasing applause. You stop begging for acknowledgement. You begin living differently. You start setting standards not out of ego, but out of purpose. You walk away from toxic situations not because you hate others, but because you respect yourself. You protect your time, your energy, and your focus, because you know how precious you've become. So, next time you question your worth, don't. Look outward. Don't scan the room hoping for validation. Instead, look inward. Ask yourself, am I living like the person I promised myself I would become? Am I showing up today in a way I respect? If the answer is yes, your value is intact, even if no one else sees it. And if the answer is no, good, that means you're still in control. You still have the power to change, to build, to become, because your worth isn't something waiting to be found. It's something you forge, day by day, action by action, choice by choice, through fire, through honesty, through daily self-respect. That's the Stoic truth. Your value is self-created. And once you own that, you become untouchable. You don't need silence outside to find peace within. You need a place inside you that no one can invade, a citadel built not of stone, but of clarity, discipline, and truth. This is the fortress Marcus Aurelius described, the one that's always available, always accessible, no matter how chaotic life becomes. So what does building this inner citadel actually look like? It means creating a mental refuge that stands even when life shakes. It's waking up every morning knowing that circumstances may shift, people may misunderstand you, outcomes may disappoint you, but your principles, your perspective, and your discipline remain intact. It's the ability to sit in discomfort and not flinch, to watch chaos swirl around you without letting it dictate your reaction, to lose what you thought you needed and still stand, not because you're numb, but because your foundation wasn't built on those things to begin with. This inner stronghold isn't built in a single day. It's forged through daily decisions. Every time you meditate when you don't feel like it, every time you reflect on your actions instead of blaming others, every time you choose discipline over impulse, a new brick is laid. Every moment you protect your peace, every time you hold your standards when the world tries to pull you down, your walls grow thicker, your gates stronger. But let's be clear. This isn't about emotional detachment. Building your citadel isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming unbreakable. There's a difference. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop being ruled by those feelings. When others lash out, your citadel lets you pause. When outcomes fail you, your citadel reminds you that success never defined you. When loneliness creeps in, your citadel holds the reminder, you are enough without the world's approval. Think about your current life. When things fall apart, Where do you mentally retreat? Is there a place inside you that can withstand disappointment, rejection, failure? Or are you constantly running from storm to storm, hoping for the outside world to calm down so you can feel stable? The Stoics knew that waiting for life to be calm before finding peace is a losing strategy. You must build the citadel now, before the storm. So when it comes, and it will, you're ready. And here's the final truth. No one can build this for you. Not a friend, not a mentor, not even the wisest teacher. Your inner citadel is self-built through practice, through discipline, through consistent self-respect. Ask yourself today, have I built a place inside me where life's storms can't reach? And if not, what's stopping me from starting now? Because once you've built it, no one can take it from you. And wherever life throws you, you'll carry home within you. What Marcus Aurelius describes in his writings is not some metaphorical or poetic image. It's a real place within yourself, a kind of sanctuary. But it's not built from stone nor protected by iron gates. It's constructed from clarity. It's fortified by your own discipline. In a world that constantly bombards you with distractions, opinions, judgments, and relentless noise, building that inner fortress isn't optional, it's essential. It's not a luxury for monks or philosophers. It's a necessity for anyone who seeks peace in a chaotic world. So what does it actually mean to build what the Stoics called an inner citadel? It means training your mind to remain calm, not just in peaceful times, but especially when emotions rage and life hits you hard. It's preparing your soul to remain standing when the world disappoints you, when people betray your expectations, when success slips through your fingers. It's defining your values with such precision and clarity that no external voice, no circumstance, no outcome can confuse or distort them. And here's the key. This isn't something you do once and forget. This is daily work. It's a practice, the craft, something you sculpt slowly over time. Think about a real-life situation. Imagine someone insults you publicly, where everyone can see. What do? Do you lash out immediately, driven by wounded pride, retaliating in the moment just to feel a fleeting sense of power, or do you pause? Do you take a breath, allow that surge of ego to settle, and then choose to respond from principle rather than emotion? That pause, that space between stimulus and response, that's your inner citadel in action. Every time you choose wisdom over impulse, every time you prioritize what matters over what feels urgent, you're laying another brick in that fortress. Now, imagine another scenario. You lose something you deeply care about. Maybe it's a job you loved, a relationship you believed would last, an opportunity you worked tirelessly for. Do you collapse? Do you let that loss define you? Or do you remember your value, your identity, your worth as a human being isn't tied to outcomes? It's tied to how you carry yourself through outcomes. That mindset, that ability to remain centered amidst disappointment, isn't a gift. It's a structure you build consciously, like walls surrounding your peace. Like any fortress, this citadel must be built brick by brick. Every time you journal honestly, reflecting on your flaws without judgment, that's a brick. Every moment you meditate, observing your thoughts rather than reacting to them, that's another brick. Every single time you choose integrity over impulse, When no one's watching, the walls grow thicker. Every uncomfortable truth you face instead of avoiding, that's the foundation sinking deeper. These aren't grand gestures. They're small, deliberate acts of inner construction. But don't mistake this for coldness. The Stoics were not advocating emotional numbness. Building your inner citadel isn't about detaching from life, nor about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering emotion. The difference is profound. It's not life controlling you. It's you walking through life with steady hands on the wheel. It's loving without clinging, leading without arrogance, losing without crumbling. That's the strength of someone who's built something solid within. And here's the raw truth. No one can build this fortress for you. Not a book, not a motivational speaker, not even philosophy itself. You can read all the Stoic texts you want, but until you live the teachings, until you show up every day and prove to yourself that you're stronger than your circumstances, that fortress remains unfinished. So today, ask yourself honestly, what does your inner citadel look like right now? Is it built on principles you've tested and proven, or shallow beliefs you borrowed from others? When life shakes you, do you run to that fortress, or do you realize too late that you never built it at all? Because make no mistake, the storms will come. Challenges are inevitable. The world will test you. And whether those storms destroy you or refine you, that's determined by what you've built inside. And once that citadel is truly built, once the walls stand firm, something remarkable happens. You realize no matter what chaos unfolds around, you, no matter what's lost or taken, you are already home. Nothing external can breach what's been fortified within.